What's going on, everybody? So I'm going to give you guys a side-by-side comparison between the original Invincible and, spoiler alert, the most recent one. As you guys can see, the color palette has completely changed, all right? And in the end, stay tuned. I'm going to give you guys my opinion on which one do I prefer. So if you guys are new to this channel, I do a lot of character designs, right? I use my photo as reference, and I utilize that into making different characters, all right? From Attack on Titans to Bakihama, you name it. So if you are interested in having your favorite character to be, designed with my style, using a photograph, turn into illustrations, throw the suggestions down below. That will greatly be appreciated. I'll take that into suggestion, all right, in future videos. So we're going to talk about Invincible. If you guys haven't seen this, spoiler alert, go check it out, all right? Because I'm not one of those people who's gonna say spoiler free. I might slip up and say something that you might be like, oh man, why did he say this? I didn't see the show yet. So you have been warned, okay? All the episodes are out, so it's time for you to binge if you can. But anyway, we're focused more on the character design comparison between the original, you guys seen here, right? And the newer version, which is right over here. It really changed, didn't it? Look at that. Really changed. Look at that. So I'm going to give you guys the pros and cons. So let's start off with the original Invincible costume. At first, when I saw this, I was like, it's a little bit too bright for my taking. But then again, I see the reasons of why, right? It's his first time. Bright colors, because I do graphic design as well. Bright colors also represents youth. Why do you think when you're a little kid, everything got to be loud and bright? Everything's super saturated. Because when you're younger, things like that captures your attention. The brighter, the better, right? But when you get older, you start to lean more towards minimalistic color palette. So things that are just grays or tints and shades of the same color. So that's how we associate things from youth to adulthood. So if you think about Naruto, bright blonde hair with the blue and orange, you will never forget those colors because they're so bright. If you think about also Goku in terms of his gi, his overall training outfit, right? His main outfit is orange. Everything is bright. Or Luffy with the red, with the straw hat. These type of colors and iconographies of what they're wearing is something that even as an adult, you can never forget the character's appearance. Even if you honestly forget about the name, you will not forget about the aesthetic of the character. So that's the same thing when it comes down to the bright colors of Invincible. So you look at it from that perspective, to me, that's not bad, right? But as you get older, you're like, oh, these colors are all over the place. But that's by design. By having the yellow, the blue, and the black, even though it's a lot to take in, it still stands out in your brain of this character. So on a scale of 1 to 10, as far as the original Invincible design, it screams superhero to me. Superheroes are supposed to be out there, flashy. Not flashy as far as me showing off X, Y, and Z, but more of like, hey, that's a beacon of hope, right? Look at Superman with the bright red and blue. And then over time, people are like, oh, it's too bright, so we got to make it more realistic. And with Zack Snyder, inspired by Christopher Nolan, by things being darker and more grounded in reality. But nevertheless, we still atone towards brighter colors. So it's like two things can coexist at the same time. Something could be realistic, dark, gloomy, grounded to earth, relatable, or idealized, right? It's an ideal, it's a beacon, it's a symbol of hope. Like, it makes us feel a certain way. Bright colors makes us feel good. Like blues colors make you feel calm, more at peace. Red is a sense of pride, power, urgency. Colors resonate towards our emotion. So when you look at yellow, yellow is expressive, it's bright. Blue is calm. These type of colors happening in his costume composition resonates a safe character. It doesn't seem like villains won't dress like this, right? They won't. Same color palette, similar to Static Shock in the first character design of Static Shock before it became more minimalistic. So by that information I just gave to you guys, on a scale of 1 to 10, balancing it out, I'm gonna give Invincible costume, his superhero character design costume, I'm gonna give it a solid 7 out of 10. Now 5 is average, so to me it's above average, because if you think about it, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, if I walk outside and I randomly see I walk past a store and they have like this image of this character, automatically I want to be like, Invincible. I could just automatically. Why? Because of the colors, how it's portrayed, right? So now keep that in mind when I'm going to compare the next design, okay? So now later on in the season, things get dark. Spoiler alert, things get darker, right? It was already dark at the end of the first season with what happened with his father, but Thin's hair gets a lot more dark, more of a burden, more of a responsibility of what's happening with him and the people around, the world in this season, right? People come back. I don't want to get specific, but I'm just saying certain people come back that he thought he eliminated, and then someone else comes back, and then he has to deal with this and juggle the life, almost like Spider-Man. But anyway, so now we got this Invincible here, right? He left the organization. He's like, look, I want to change the costume. I want to be my own man. So now you can see the reflection of that. No longer is his visor bright, right? It's not clear. It's not bright. Things are darker. So guess what? His visor is darker. It's darker. Very minimalistic. And I see what they have done, right? With his little brother, his costume kind of looks like Robin, and then Invincible costume kind of look like Nightwing from Batman. So it's kind of giving that little Easter egg. That's how I seen it. Let me know if you guys seen that down below. But nonetheless, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, right? This costume, story-wise, makes a lot of sense. However, I'm not a big fan of this costume aesthetically. And why? It seems too minimalistic in my opinion. Like it's unfinished. Like if you're gonna go for this, at least add something different as far as elements is concerned. Now, to be fair, the animation team does a phenomenal job given the low budget of this series, and I hope they continue doing this and they make up for it with the animation, right? With the flow of it. So they made a few sacrifices as far as the color grading, because everything looks extremely flat. But nevertheless, to me, I kind of look at it like Justice League, right? But the lack of color grading. But I look at it like Justice League or the Batman animated series. The drawing style is very simplistic, but it makes up for it with the flow of the animation, right? And the feeling you get, because this show, man, it hits hard, like pun intended. It hits your heart, like, whoa, they went there. Ooh, like you really get immersed in the story of this show. And I'm one of those minorities out there who are like, okay, like the animation is not terrible. Like it's not. If you was to add a bit of more like color graded, like add a touch of overlays, make the scenery more emotional when it needs to be, then it will feel like a movie in a good way, right? And I think they could do that if they're ever gonna wrap it up. Then they could add more time and tender love and care TLC into it. But nonetheless, I'm not bothered by it. I'm really not. because the storyline is so good that I can overlook the nitpicking aspects of this show. But anyway, the reason why I went on a rant talking about that is because I can see, I get it. I got images here of how he looks in the comics. Yes, so all of this is comic book accurate. Okay, like Invincible head to toe is comic book accurate. So I've seen images of how he looks here. So it's a reflection of how he looks in the show. But guys can see the huge difference, right? A comic book, you have more liberty to, because there's still images that are drawings, right? So same thing with the illustrations that I've done, right? You're able to do so much in one frame, right? But when it comes down to animation, this is why you see such a downgrade. It's like, whoa, what the, this looks way better. This looks way better. How come it doesn't look as good here? Because they gotta draw it over and 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 over. And you gotta make a few sacrifices, right? So that's the same thing with photography. Like when you take a shot of an image, it gets all of that definition, all of that stuff there. But when it's in film, it loses it. Why? Because it's multiple frames per second. So it's the same thing, right? So looking at Invincible here, yeah, like these two screenshots, it looks basic. He doesn't stand out. He don't. But story-wise, makes sense because it got a lot darker here. And then also animation, like low budget, right? Some people could say, oh, where's the lights or shadows on the model? A lot of work of doing that over and over and over. So that being said, I don't want to sound like a a broken record. Invincible in the latest season design, I'm gonna give this a 5 out of 10. To me, this design is average at best. I'm not gonna really remember this design, to be honest with you, compared to his iconic original design here. Makes sense story-wise, but I'm just judging aesthetics, right? Putting the story aside, I prefer the bright colors. Now I know a lot of you guys are gonna say, nah, this colors is corny. I don't like it. It's distracted. He looks like a wimp. Blah 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 blah. And this one looks a lot cooler. But to me, this design is not memorable. I'm looking at it from a longevity perspective rather than cool for the sake of looking cool, right? If you think about, again, like I said, Dragon Ball Z, Goku, his original outfit, his spiky asymmetrical hairstyle, you can never forget that. Can't forget about Naruto as well, right? All these characters, they have a striking feature, even though it's loud as hell and it might not look correct, or not correct. It may not look the best in terms of live action, but as far as the cartoon style, it stands out. Stands out. And I think when it comes down to Mark, Invincible, he has a complexity to him, right? Because he's not a full goody two shoes, right? He's a relatable character that's more human than what's his name? The race is Voltermite. Like, he's more of a human being. So he has the balance and the flaws in terms of, hey, you push me to the limit, I'm going to take you out, like, permanently, right? So that dynamic doesn't fully correlate if he stays with this costume. But who knows? You guys probably read the comics that he may revert back to this. But I can understand the direction of them going towards this. Now, for me, nitpicking, I wish not everything has to atone towards the comics to the T. They have creative license and liberty of making things a little bit different. Otherwise, the people who read the comics is like, I already know what's going to happen. That's the whole problem with the law of diminishing returns, is that if you've already seen something and you've seen the comics, and you know this whole thing going on with making this into animation, if they following it to the T, then it's boring. But then at the same time, if they do something completely different, then the conservative comic book fans are gonna be like, hey, this is not this, look, the comics is way better. Why did they change this whole thing? This looks nothing, it has nothing to do with the comics. So it's like, you gotta pick and choose. If you do things too much to the T, it's boring. Do something that's too out there, that has nothing to do with the original identity, then people will complain. But yeah, overall, I wish they would have done a little bit of a change with Mark's design, Invincible design. It just seems, like I said, it looks unfinished despite low budget. I just prefer, hands down, much more of this outfit, this style. It's the bright colors. It gets me in a good way. It captures my attention. It commands the room. This here just looks flat. This looks too flat. It looks like something where he's only wearing it temporarily because he's on a stealth mission. This looks like a stealth mission costume rather than he's fighting people broad daylight. And that's the difference between Superman and Batman. Batman makes sense why he's broody. Gotham is dark, gloomy. He's wearing black and gray, right? I know other times he had dark blue, but the main definitive default costume is mainly black, all black, and some grays. Because majority of his scenes that happens in the Batman animated series takes place at nighttime. So it doesn't really make sense for him to be all bright, colorful, where Superman is the opposite of that. Majority of the situations in Superman animated series takes place during the daytime. So it makes sense, he's a beacon of hope. So you want him to be out there in bright, saturated colors. And I think that's what's throwing me off here with Invincible, is because a lot of the fight scenes here either takes place a few times out of space, but majority of the time it's daytime, right? The major fight scenes are during the day. So him dressing up like this, it just throws me off optically. Whereas this right here works perfectly because his colors are bright. So it goes hand to hand, all right? So that's my opinion on the two. If I have to choose, I'll choose this one over this one, all right? And share your thoughts down below. And once again, I do character designs, all right? So throw your suggestions of different character designs you guys want me to do in the future. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.